Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It's Palestine here. It's a nice Sunday morning, and I wanted to make a video for you. I wanted to talk a little bit more about communications, and basically, this video is going to be about the fact that my friends, I will use that in quotation marks, they betrayed me when I was gang stalked out of my job at Foster Wheeler. So basically what happened was I had this friend and she lived in Basingstoke, and obviously I can't say anybody's names because if I say anybody's names I could lose my YouTube channel. But anyway, so we went out with some other friends in Reading, and I met these friends through my friend in Basingstoke. And I still have contact with my friend in Basingstoke, but not much, not a lot. And so these friends in Reading, we met them when we were at a Christmas party, and my friend in Basingstoke phoned them up, and they started going out on girls' nights out and things like that, because that's something that they tend to do in the UK. And so I made friends with these people, and there was this one lady in particular. I can't say her name, but her first initial was K. And so basically, and we went out with a group of friends in Reading, and we would have these girls' nights out. I heard, because Kay liked the company of women. And one time somebody had broken into her Facebook account and said she was bisexual, and she was really upset about that. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if she really was bisexual, but I know that she did enjoy the company of women. And so I was her friend, and but I got no support when I was gang stalked out of Foster Wheeler. I got no support at all. They didn't believe it. They didn't believe what Foster Wheeler was doing, and they couldn't believe it. So rather than support me and believe me, they believed Foster Wheeler. And to make matters worse, an employee of Foster Wheeler, I don't remember her name. I remember her husband's name, but I don't remember her name. And I knew who she was because I saw her, and she was a year older than me, and she never really had that much to say to me. And in hindsight, I know why now. I know why now she didn't have that much to say to me, because she had gone to her husband, who worked at a company called Prudential, and I worked at Prudential for a couple of years just doing secretarial work. He worked at a company called Prudential, and she told this husband a lot of things about me that were not true. And obviously Foster Wheeler had told her to do that, and if Foster Wheeler hadn't specifically told her to do that, because they were just talking about me so much and making up so many stories about me, that she felt that she could speak with impunity about me. So she told this husband that the reason why I was asked to leave Foster Wheeler was because that I hadn't attended a counseling session. And that's not true. That's not why I was asked to leave Foster Wheeler. I was asked to leave Foster Wheeler because I made a complaint to ACAS. That's why I was asked to leave Foster Wheeler. And I do think that was a big charade as well, because after the woman from ACAS got me sacked from my job, I never heard from her again. So I think that was a scam as well. I'm just wondering if the woman claiming to be from ACAS was actually an actor, because she seemed to me like she had a lot better people skills than a regular worker from ACAS. So I just wonder if I was duped into making a complaint, and because I made a complaint, I lost my job. That's putting it in a nutshell, everything that happened. Not everything that happened, but the main thing that happened. Because I I believed that if I honestly, truly believed that if I told people what was going on at Foster Wheeler, the harassment would stop. But I didn't know that the harassment was coming from the very top of the company. So it was the management of the company was telling the employees of the company to gang stalk me. But when you're in a work environment, it's called mobbing. So outside of work, it's called gang stalking, and inside of work, it's called mobbing. And because the very top of the company was behind this gang stalking, they just told the employees to do things because the employees, number one, the employees were on the payroll. So if they wanted to keep their job and they didn't want to get gang stalked too, they had to do what they were told to do. And number two, they're sick. They're sick. And because they could have said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not a reasonable management request, and I'm not going to do that. But they went ahead and did it anyway. And so that's why I got kicked out of my job at Foster Wheeler. In hindsight, I wouldn't do it because I went to a union and I was talking about a union about some other things. And they said, if you don't have a witness, you don't have a leg to stand on. And so in hindsight, I wouldn't make a complaint unless I had a witness who was willing to go to bat for me, because that's the only way you have a leg to stand on is if you have a witness. If you don't have a witness, they'll just cover it all up. And so anyway, so back to the story. This woman, who I don't remember her name, but she told her husband, and I do remember his name, and he worked at Prudential. Well, it just so happened that these friends that I went out with, they worked at Prudential too. So he went into Prudential and he told one of the people, who I can't say her name, that he worked with, that the reason why I left Foster Wheeler is because I didn't attend a counseling session. And that's not true. That's not true at all. I left Foster Wheeler because I made a complaint, I guess. And then basically this woman, who obviously she didn't like me anyway, instead of coming to me and telling me what people at Foster Wheeler were saying about me, she went and told this other friend of mine who I did things with, who I was friends with, and I did things with. And those two women, they went and told everybody they could think of. People in Basingstoke, people in Reading, people all over. They went and told everybody they could think of that I left Foster Wheeler because I didn't leave a counseling session. And then so I was, and I didn't find this out because they didn't tell me. They didn't come to me and tell me what people at Foster Wheeler was saying about me. Because if they had come to me and told me that what people at Foster Wheeler were saying about me, I could have taken some legal action against Foster Wheeler for slander. But because they just told everybody except me, and I didn't know what they were saying about me. And this one woman who was the recipient of the information from the husband of this woman that worked at Foster Wheeler, I noticed she was quite cool with me, but my other friend, she didn't tell me either. And I found out when we were sitting in a pub, I think it was Yates or something like that, and what she had been doing is, we'll just call her K, because that's her first initial. What she had been doing is whenever we would go out for a drink or something, which I would just have a non-alcoholic drink, but when we would go out for a drink or something, what she would do is she would wait until I went to the toilet, and then when I went to the toilet, she would start saying things about me to my boyfriend. I mean, what kind of friend is that? And then what happened was, my boyfriend told me what she was doing, so I wouldn't go to the bathroom. I would try not to go to the bathroom because I knew that as soon as I went to the bathroom, she would say things about me. And so basically, she told me a year or so later, maybe a year and a half later, something like that, she told me that that was the reason why I had lost my job at Foster Wheeler. And it wasn't the reason why, but that was what they were telling everybody. And it wasn't the reason why. I lost my job at Foster Wheeler because I made a complaint to ACAS. And ACAS got me sacked from my job. And I don't think it was even a genuine, I think that I was speaking to actors. I don't think that I was actually even speaking to people from ACAS. Because if you ring ACAS, they're just government workers. They don't have, I'm sure they have personality outside of work, but they don't have personality inside of work. And so I think that this lady that rang me and asked me, could she help me? I think she was an actress. I don't think that she really was an employee of ACAS because of all the things that she said to me. But she got me sacked from my job. That's why I left. That's why I left Foster Wheeler. And so, and then maybe 6 months after that, a year after that or something, it was around Christmas time or something, there was this other lady, and this lady is friends with my friend, and she was living in Basingstoke too, and she posted something about how great she was and how she was going to listen to people and stuff like that. And then so I wasn't talking about her. I was just talking about people in general, but she took it personally. And I said, well, I don't really think that's true. I don't think that people really listen to other people's problems. But she took it to where I was talking about her specifically, but I wasn't talking about her specifically. I was talking about people in general. And then so she wrote some really nasty things on my wall on Facebook saying, you delete that comment, and that's why. And she made two posts. She says that's why they drugged you. She said that's the reason why they drugged you, because of these kind of comments you make, and that's why you lost your job. And I was horrified. And that's when I realized that not only were these people from Foster Wheeler who contacted people from Prudential had been saying things about me to people in Reading, they were also saying things about me to people in Basingstoke. So I know people in Reading and Basingstoke were told that the reason why I lost my job at Foster Wheeler was because I didn't attend a counseling session. And that's not true. That's not true at all. And so obviously I'm not friends with any of those people. When I found out what my friends were saying about me, I was nauseous. I don't know if you know what it's like. I was having to work and I was having to attend meetings and things like that. And when I was sitting there taking the notes for the meeting, I would be overcome with these feelings of nausea. I mean, if you can imagine just being so horrified, because you watch movies and you see people are so horrified or repulsed or disgusted that they throw up. Well, I didn't actually throw up, but I felt like I was going to throw up. I would be overcome with nausea when I was at work. And that went on for a while because I had been totally betrayed by my friends, people who I thought were my friends. And I don't have anything to do with any of those people anymore. I think only one person in that group of people is still my friend on Facebook. And then they unfriended me on Facebook and LinkedIn. They were the ones gossiping about me. They were the ones slandering me. They were the ones spreading malicious rumors about me. And they unfriended me. They blocked me, if you can believe it, because they were the guilty parties. And so I went to Citizens Advice Bureau to see if I could take legal action against Foster Wheeler, because all this started at Foster Wheeler. And Citizens Advice Bureau said that if I wanted to sue them, I would have to have a lot of money, and they suspected that I didn't have a lot of money. And then in addition to that, when I found out that people at Prudential were saying things about me. I made a complaint to Prudential about what was being said about me in Prudential because I was a customer of Prudential. And what these people did was vicarious liability because they were talking about me. I was a customer of Prudential because my phone is Vodafone and my insurance for my phone was Prudential. So I was actually a customer of Prudential. But what they did was vicarious liability because they were committing a crime in Prudential's premises. And Prudential wouldn't do anything about it. I made a complaint to Prudential. They sent it to Human Resources. Human Resources said, well, we can't read your letter. Would you type it? So I typed it and emailed it to them. And then they phoned me and they said, well, we can't do anything about this. Well, why not? You had people at Prudential gossiping about a victim. And they said they wouldn't do anything about it. And I've also worked at Prudential before as well. So it was a real terrible situation. Nobody would help me. ACAS got me sacked from my job. Citizens Advice couldn't help me. Prudential refused to take disciplinary action about that woman and the woman and the man who were saying things about me. Unfortunately, I can't say the names of the people who did all this because I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. And my sister told me that a lot of people are losing their channels because a lot of people who do reaction videos are having their channels taken down because even if you say something nice about somebody, then they can still sue you for betrayal, breach of confidence, or invasion of privacy or something like that. So unfortunately, I can't say the names of any of the guilty parties, and that's exactly what they are, guilty parties. But they're not my friends anymore. I don't have anything to do with them anymore. They were people in Reading and Basingstoke who did this, and they spread it all over. It was a terrible, what